This man charged with vandalizing the memorial dedicated to Officer Daryl Pearson. What we're learning about the suspect. QB quandary. Just how long Rex Ryan might wait to pick a starting quarterback. And the first GOP primary debate in the books. Why the real winner may not have been anyone on stage last night.
You're watching 13 Wham ABC. And this is 13 Wham News at 5.
2 weeks after a handmade memorial for a fallen police officer was vandalized, police make an arrest.
It's a good feeling, you know, it really is.
The memorial was built by Tom Bertino for the community to have a place to remember Officer Daryl Pearson.
Police say on the night of July 21st, a 25-year-old Rochester man used charcoal lighter fluid to start the fire that burned the handmade cross. Jonathan Snowden was arrested Thursday for arson and criminal mischief. The cross Burton originally put up to honor Officer Pearson had been vandalized before, but the fire forced the city to take it down. However, within hours of that, another community member replaced it.
There are a lot of people that support the cops, but it should be 100% because they protect you.
The community overall is by far supportive of us, and there's so many people in the community that are really watching out for us and care about us, and I think it's evidence when that happened with Officer Pearson, but it's just not shown all the time. So I don't think by any means that the people in Hudson Avenue are against the police. They're not. It's just isolated people that have a problem with the things that we're doing.
Bertino is planning to rebuild the memorial this weekend with his son. Snowden is due back in court next week.
Just into the newsroom, the family of Kevin Ward Jr. is suing NASCAR star Tony Stewart. The family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Stewart today in Lewis County. It comes almost 1 year to the day Stewart hit and killed Ward during a dirt race in Canandaigua. After the two crashed during the race, Ward got out of his car to confront Stewart when Stewart's car jumped forward and ran him over. No criminal charges were filed against Stewart. The NASCAR star is back in upstate New York this week to take part in the race at Watkins Glen. Police confirmed today that Buffalo native and Stanley Cup champion Patrick Kane is under investigation. While police aren't releasing specifics, there are reports he's accused of sexual assault.
The Town of Hamburg Police Department is investigating an incident that allegedly occurred at the residence of NHL player Patrick Kane last weekend. At this time, we are gathering information and awaiting forensic testing results.
Kane's agent says they are monitoring the situation and waiting for more information. According to the ABC affiliate in Buffalo, there had been rumors that Kane was going to bring the Stanley Cup to Buffalo this weekend, though no itinerary has been released.
Well, really some beautiful weather in western New York. We've had a few patchy clouds from time to time, but I want to show you the weather pattern that has really been making a difference across western New York. We've had this very dry northeasterly flow across western New York, and that's kept the temperatures comfortable, the humidity very low, and we're going to see if we can keep this going into the weekend. At least through this evening, terrific conditions. Temperatures are going to be dropping through the 70s. We'll get into the mid-60s as we go through that 10 o'clock hour. No issues with any precipitation, and yeah, maybe it's time to get the old sprinkler out for the upcoming weekend. I mean, it's going to stay dry through Saturday and Sunday. Very slowly, we're going to warm things up. You can see we're going to be near 80 degrees. Now, in a couple of minutes, we're going to talk about Bill's camp. Maybe you're going out for Saturday evening. We're going to talk about exactly what the weather's going to be like. It's coming up.
He went to prison for 12 years for a double murder he says he didn't commit. Attorneys for Charles Pierre say another man confessed. And today that man was called to the witness stand. 13 Wham's Jane Flash in the newsroom with more on this bizarre twist in the retrial of these 2002 crimes. Jane?
Yeah, it is unusual. Charles Pierre is on trial for the double murder and arson, but his attorney is pointing the finger at another man named Daryl Boyd. Outside the presence of the jury, the judge called Boyd to the stand. Now, the defense says Boyd had motive and opportunity. He lived in an apartment in the same house on First Street as the victims. He is also in prison for a similar crime in 2007, killing someone and setting a fire to try to cover it up. Now, defense attorney Van White asked, "You killed Clara Sconyers and Thomas Reed, didn't you? Did you escape from a back door?" Boyd refused to answer both of those questions. Through his attorney, he invoked his Fifth Amendment right to stay silent and not incriminate himself.
It was frustrating because really the whole purpose of this trial is to get to the truth, not to just convince this jury that my client did absolutely nothing wrong, but also to let the Reed and Scaniers family know who actually killed their loved one.
Now, the defense wants to put Boyd on the stand in front of the jury so they can see his demeanor even if he doesn't say anything. Prosecutors object to that. The judge will make a decision as the trial continues next week. Kelsey?
Thank you, Jane. New information on a triple shooting on Thurston Road. Police have released the names of the 3 victims who were shot. Anthony Pearson is currently in satisfactory condition in the hospital. Kyle Pearson and Tyrone Rudolph were treated and released. Police are still looking for suspects. A teenager from Greece is charged with DWI following a crash that injured him and his passenger. Police say 18-year-old Jeremy Billings crashed into several parked cars and a lamppost late last night on Harvest Drive. Police say he and his 16-year-old passenger fled the scene on foot. The 2 were found in a nearby neighborhood and taken to the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries.
There was one clear winner in the first Republican debate last night, and it was Fox News. According to Nielsen numbers, the debate was watched by 24 million viewers, the highest-rated primary debate ever. As ABC's Stephanie Ramos reports, there were 10 presidential candidates on stage, and while Donald Trump stole the show, did he win the debate?
Former Florida Governor.
The day after the big debate, top GOP presidential candidates gathered at a forum in Atlanta, hosted by Red State, a conservative blog.
For a guy from New Jersey, it is a relief to be in a red state, I guarantee it.
The memory of last night's debate still fresh in their minds. Donald Trump, the main attraction, flanked by 9 other Republican presidential candidates, raised his hand when asked whether he would consider running independently. Trump then called out by moderator Megyn Kelly for his offensive remarks and tweets about women.
What I say is what I say.
After the debate, Trump complaining he was picked on.
The questions asked of me were much, much more difficult.
While Trump may have been the center of attention, the other candidates tried to grab the spotlight. Ohio Governor John Kasich got a big reaction when he embraced gay marriage. Rand Paul and Chris Christie clashing on spying by the NSA. ABC News political analyst Matthew Dowd says there were 3 winners: Marco Rubio, John Kasich, and Carly Fiorina, who appeared in the night's earlier debate.
Jeb, who needed to kind of get restarted on his momentum, didn't show up. I thought he was probably the biggest loser of the night.
As for the 7 GOP candidates whose debate played to virtually an empty hall, they continue to fight for their political future, with Carly Fiorina possibly getting the biggest boost from her performance. Stephanie Ramos, ABC News, Washington.
Donald Trump also took to Twitter after last night's Republican presidential debate. His ire not aimed at a competitor, but instead Fox moderator Megyn Kelly. Trump wrote that he really enjoyed the debate, but said Kelly really bombed.
Senator Chuck Schumer says he will vote against President Obama's nuclear deal with Iran. Schumer is the first Democrat lawmaker to break with the White House on the pact ahead of next month's vote. The agreement reached by Iran and 6 Western nations seeks to curb Iran's ability to acquire a nuclear weapon. It requires Iran to meet certain conditions in exchange for lifting sanctions. Schumer says he doesn't trust Iran to keep up its end of the deal.
Still ahead, a jury reaches a verdict on whether the Colorado theater shooter should get the death penalty.
But next, NASCAR invades the famous road course at Watkins Glen. Hannah Welker takes you behind the scenes for a look at what's new this year at the track.
Also, a happier meal while you may soon have to think about tipping your waiter at your local McDonald's.
And new at 5:30 after a triple shooting yesterday in the 19th Ward, what local leaders are saying needs to be done to help stop the violence. Switching gears, something you'll find this weekend at Watkins Glen International, but as 13 Wham's Hannah Welker tells us, that shift may be more for the fans than the drivers.
It's a track like no other, the road course at Watkins Glen International, a visual that won't disappoint. At this weekend's Cheez-It 355 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race. But a change up off the track is getting a whole lot of attention.
Oh, we just looked at it and we don't like it.
It is NASCAR's newest fan zone venture, the memorabilia superstore built by Fanatics Retail Group. part of a new 10-year agreement with NASCAR that'll pop up at every Sprint Cup Series race.
This is the first time we broke down on Sunday, got all packed up, moved across town, came up here and set it back up. And so that's what's interesting about Watkins Glen.
The biggest difference, the mall-type atmosphere. Individual walk-up trailer sales are now being replaced by tent sales.
The old trailers were, they kind of like a wagon train comes around and they open the doors. I think it's going to be more, it was more fun that way than it is this way. This way looks more like a supermarket or a shopping mall.
The launch happened last week at Pocono Raceway. Fanatics says the main goal is to give newer drivers a chance at building a fan base and to make the sales experience quicker.
This whole wall here is made up of drivers that in the past, Landon Castle, Colwitt, that there was not product because there was not a hauler out there. So you see headwear and T-shirts for them.
Jeff Gordon's last year racing, though, I jumped on the bandwagon.
I may be a rookie NASCAR fan, but it's easy to become a fan here in the fan zone. Jeff Gordon hat, Jeff Gordon jacket, a phone cover, and a coffee mug.
Merchandise aside, Watkins Glen International plans to put on another great show this weekend.
This state really appreciates Watkins Glen, and we know that, and we don't take that for granted. It's part of being Watkins Glen International.
Most fans are even willing to give change a chance.
Everybody's touting it as the best thing since sliced bread, but I don't know if it is or isn't going to be.
At least a small one. At Watkins Glen International, I'm Hannah Welker, 13 WHAM News.
Hannah always finding a way to have some fun with stuff.
She does. It's supposed to be a perfect weekend for it.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, still ahead, Taiwan is bracing for the strongest typhoon in years.
And a mainly dry weekend in store for Rochester, but when will there be a chance for some showers? Glenn is next with the forecast.
And I'm Don Alhart. Her body found in a Webster field 20 years ago, and the family of 16-year-old Kelly Gaffield has never forgotten.
20 years later feels so, unbelievable to me.
Tonight, how they're keeping her memory alive and the promise they keep as the search continues for her killer. Jane Flash has the story, and it is new at 6 on 13 WHAM News.
Time for a look at that afternoon drive. This is 590 at Blossom. Looks like pretty smooth sailing on a beautiful Friday evening.
We know a lot of folks have been going down to St. John Fisher. Bills camp coming up Saturday night, and they have had thousands and thousands of people down there. What kind of weather are we going to get? I think it's going to be near perfect because we're going to find low humidity, comfortable temperatures, and this is, ideal when you're talking about practice with football. Temperatures are going to be dropping through the 70s, and again, this is tomorrow evening, and I think by about 9 o'clock, maybe we're down around 68 or 69 degrees. So looking good outside right now. We got lots of sunshine, 76 degrees. We had some of those fair weather cumulus clouds develop right around the middle of the day. They're moving out pretty rapidly, so we think we're going to do it again tomorrow. Look for comfortable weather. Some of those patchy clouds during the middle of the day. Temperatures south of Rochester, around Avon, Dansville, over towards Bristol. You're going to find readings in the upper 70s. And I think right here in Rochester, maybe we top out around 78 degrees. Now, if it gets a little bit too warm for you, just go up to Lake Ontario, a little bit cooler with the breeze coming in out of the north. Some of those communities are going to be in the low 70s. Here's a look at our temperature trend, and it is going up from Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday. And it's going to start to get a little uncomfortable as we go through the latter half of the weekend and into early next week. And that's our next chance for getting some rainfall. Take a look at the futurecast, and you can see there's not much going on through the immediate Rochester area. We got one storm to the south of us, another one coming in through the Ohio Valley. This one's going to fade away, and I think we're just in the perfect area in terms of getting nice weather for at least the next 48 hours or so. And then there's going to be some changes, as we mentioned, going into Monday and Tuesday. It looks like there's going to be a storm that's going to be tracking just south of Chicago. It should be very close to Rochester as we go into Tuesday, at least for the morning, and then moving into northern New England. This is going to be our likelihood for getting some rain, and the humidity obviously is going to go up significantly. So we're going to talk more about that, at least through this evening. Looking good. Grab the sunglasses. Temperatures slowly dropping through the 70s and into the 60s through the overnight. And for a couple of hours, we'll get into the 50s. A little bit of fog in some of the valleys through the overnight. Tomorrow morning, we're starting out near 60. Look for partial sunshine. again as we go through the afternoon, but the dry weather continues. The high temperature is going to be up around 78 degrees. The extended outlook again Sunday, a little bit warmer to about 81. And then we go into Monday and Tuesday, and the humidity starts to increase. And you can see the probability of rain is going to be pretty high as we head into Monday. About 70% chance of getting some showers and thunderstorms. And that's going to be the next cool front. That'll turn on the air conditioning across western New York again for Wednesday and Thursday as the temperature drops through the 70s. So not bad for the weekend.
Yeah, we don't know how many of these we have left, so we should take advantage of them while we can.
Well, we know as soon as we start getting to Labor Day, everybody starts, the days are getting shorter. We know we get those cooler nights.
Let's not talk about that. Let's not think about that yet. No. We're going to keep our 70 and 80s.
All right.
Thanks, Glenn.
You got it.
A powerful typhoon is hitting Taiwan. As ABC's Marcy Gonzalez reports, this is the strongest typhoon to threaten the island in 2 years.
A monster typhoon hitting Taiwan. Its wind gusts up to 160 miles an hour.
That is big typhoon from my life.
Some worried about those strong winds in the capital, Taipei, where this building, one of the tallest in the world, stands at 101 stories. It is all glass, but built to withstand typhoons.
They insist that these windows can take it.
Typhoon Sadalor, the biggest storm of the year, seen from space as it barreled through the Pacific, pummeling the island of Saipan. President Obama yesterday declaring the U.S. territory a disaster area. Even before reaching Taiwan, the megastorm churning up waves up to 2 stories high along seaside towns, sweeping away a mother and her 2 children. Concerns now the typhoon could bring much more coastal flooding.
You have to be careful if you stand there because that is really dangerous.
And possible mudslides in the mountains.
This area is much like a very, very, very terrible.
Taiwan's worst typhoon ever 6 years ago caused mudslides that killed more than 450 people. This storm is much stronger, and many worry it could potentially jeopardize even more lives. And after hitting Taiwan, the storm is expected to weaken more before making a second landfall along the coast of central China. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, New York.
And still ahead, a child contracts a rare disease while camping in Yosemite National Park. What's being done to notify visitors? And what New York City is doing to fight a deadly outbreak of Legionnaire's disease. In Colorado, jurors have reached a decision on whether James Holmes should be executed for murdering 12 people and trying to kill many others in a crowded Colorado movie theater. The verdict will be read at 7 o'clock. Death sentences must be unanimous in Colorado. If one juror disagrees, Holmes will then be sentenced to life in prison without parole.
A likely tornado tore through a Walmart in Alabama last night. The strong storm cell passed through just before midnight. Walmart customers and employees say the store's roof partially collapsed, sending everyone running. Several people were hurt, but the injuries were not considered life-threatening.
A 53-year-old woman from Ohio has died from complications of Legionnaire's disease. Her death comes as New York City is grappling with the largest outbreak of Legionnaire's disease. 10 people have died, 100 people have been diagnosed there. Legionnaire's is a form of pneumonia caused by breathing in mist contaminated with the Legionella bacteria.
The epidemiology of this outbreak is consistent with a community exposure. We have identified cooling towers that tested positive for this bacteria.
In an effort to stop it from spreading, New York City's mayor has ordered any building with a cooling tower to flush and disinfect that tower within the next 14 days. In California, a child is being treated for the plague, which she may have caught while camping in Yosemite National Park. Campers are now being advised to wear insect repellent and keep their distance from rodents which carry the disease. While plague is unusual in the U.S., an average of 7 cases are reported every year.
Waiters at McDonald's, the fast food chain, is actually offering table service at some stores in Europe. Customers order food from their digital kiosks, then wait to have it delivered. McDonald's is hoping table service can help modernize the chain and reverse falling sales. There's no plans on bringing table service to the U.S. at this time. Their food looks better than ours.
Yeah, those pictures were a little better than what we used to see.
It did. It looked good.
I don't know how I feel about that. An interesting change when you go to McDonald's.
Usually when I'm at McDonald's, it's because I want to be in and out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I need something quick.
All right. Well, coming up, an increase of gunfire in one city neighborhood. What community members want done to keep them safe.
And a popular Bills player injured 1 week into training camp. How long Fred Jackson could be out.
Violence continues in the 19th Ward. What we're learning about the latest triple shooting. Another Bills running back injured. Just how long Fred Jackson is expected to be out of action. Supplement overload. Why spending too much time at the gym could be causing more harm than good.
You're watching 13 Wham ABC. And this is 13 Wham News at 5:30.
We continue to follow a developing story almost 1 year to the day NASCAR star Tony Stewart hit and killed another driver during a dirt race in Canandaigua. That driver's family is suing.
The family of Kevin Ward Jr. filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Stewart today. Stewart and Ward were involved in a crash. Ward got out of his car to confront Stewart when Stewart's car jumped forward and ran him over. Stewart was not criminally charged in the incident. Stewart is back in upstate New York this week to take part in the NASCAR race at Watkins Glen. Canandaigua Motorsports Park says it plans a moment of silence in memory of Ward prior to a race there tomorrow night.
A string of shooting in Rochester's 19th Ward leaves one man still in the hospital and neighbors concerned about safety. Police released the names of the victims of yesterday's shootings on Thurston Road. Anthony Pearson is currently in satisfactory condition at Strong.
Kyle Pearson and Tyrone Rudolph both have been charged. 13 Wham's Carlette Claire is here now with what Rochester's mayor is saying about the recent violence. Carlette.
Mayor Lovely Warren says more work is needed to ensure people picking up guns and deciding to shoot them know the consequences. Thursday marked the second day in a row that police responded to this Smart 7 convenience store on Thurston Road for shots fired. 3 people hurt and taken to the hospital. Police say Wednesday night bullets also rang out at that same location, hitting the convenience store. Despite the rash of shootings, one resident says police can't curb violence alone.
I think it's going to be more so uplifting the community so that everyone here feels that they have a place and that it's part of their community to also keep where they sit all day clean.
Unfortunately, someone made a decision in the middle of the day to pick up a weapon, and I know that our police department is doing everything they possibly can to make sure that we hold those people accountable.
No word on whether the shootings are related or there's a motive. No suspects are in custody. In the newsroom, I'm Carlette Claire.
Police in Orleans County have released the name of a man who drowned in Oak Orchard River last night. Investigators say 67-year-old William Rowe approached a group of people jumping off a bridge onto the river and asked if he could join them. That's when he jumped, briefly resurfaced, and then went back under and died. Deputies say Rowe was in town from Cincinnati on a fishing trip. 2 weeks after a handmade memorial for fallen Rochester officer Daryl Pearson burned, they've made an arrest. 25-year-old Jonathan Snowden was arrested Thursday for allegedly burning a cross built to remember Officer Daryl Pearson on Warsaw Street last month. Police say Snowden used charcoal lighter fluid to start the fire that also burned a nearby city light pole. Tom Bertino, who built the memorial, was glad to hear about the arrest.
Hopefully it'll make that person accountable and maybe show the neighborhood that accountability means everything.
Just hours after that original news of vandalism, other community members built a new memorial. Bertino is also working to build another one. He plans to do that this weekend with his son.
An injury at Bills camp today to one of the team's most popular players and one who's dealt with his fair share of injuries throughout his career. Mike Catalana is here now with more on Fred Jackson. Mike.
Yeah, here's what happened. It's the good news, we'll say. It doesn't appear to be a serious injury, but when a player injures a hamstring, especially an older player, it's a concern. Fred Jackson came out on the field today, ready to go, but somewhere during practice today, he suffered that hamstring injury. After the session today, Rex Ryan said the injury is, quote, not a terrible one, but he did say those tend to last at least a couple of weeks. And Boobie Dixon is already hurt. Bill's a bit short at running back. Rookie Carlos Williams should get more snaps, and even Marcus Thigpen will take some snaps at running back during camp. We want to remind everybody that the Bills have their scrimmage tomorrow. Now, the time has been changed. It is now a 6 o'clock start tomorrow. The inter-squad scrimmage tomorrow at Fisher. You still need a ticket to be there, but it starts at 6 o'clock tomorrow. And coming up at 6 o'clock, Rex Ryan talking about the quarterbacks and when he may make a decision on who the starter is and if he had any interest in bringing Michael Vick to Buffalo. That's coming up at 6.
Thanks, Mike. Visitors to a farm in Scottsville are now getting their chance to try out the corn maze Bills coach Rex Ryan made famous. Stokey Farms brought the coach in earlier this week to go through the maze, which is made partly in the shape of Ryan's face and says, "Go Bills." That's pretty impressive tractor work. I'm assuming they use a tractor. One dad used it as a chance to help his son sharpen his Cub Scout skills.
Trying to get him to think of his Cub Scout training and try to picture himself as to where he is in the maze, where kind of know, okay, this side, if you turn here, well, was a tree line in this direction, was it that way? Just trying to get him to equate what he knows for the landscape and try to read that and move forward.
Today's event was just a sneak peek of the fall season at Stokey Farms. Opening day is September 12th.
Hiring rates in the U.S. remain strong, but workers aren't seeing much of a raise in pay. A new jobs report out today says the economy added 215,000 jobs last month. Unemployment remains at 5.3%, still the lowest it's been in 7 years. The Federal Reserve says it still wants to see improvements in wage growth. Stocks lost ground again today to close out a losing week on Wall Street. The Dow down 46, NASDAQ off about 13, while the S&P 500 dropped 6 points.
And Don joins us now with a preview of what's coming up at 6.
Yeah, looking ahead tonight, she was just 16 when she went missing. Kelly Gaffield's body was found in a field in Webster. 20 years later, her death is still a mystery. Her family hopes can still be solved.
It's never too late, and it's an open case.
Do you think it will ever be solved?
I would like to hope so.
Tonight, the promise her family has vowed to keep. And tonight, we will introduce you to Jasmine, this week's Friday's Child in Search of a Permanent Home. All of that and more still ahead tonight on 13 Wham News at 6.
All right, thank you, Don.
Ahead, Peeps getting into the pumpkin spice business. Matt Malloy tells us about their new fall flavors in today's Digital Desk.
But first, how getting healthy may be causing men to develop eating disorders.
TV chef Sandra Lee plans to head home this weekend after a trip to the hospital. The girlfriend of Governor Andrew Cuomo suffered complications from a recent surgery for breast cancer. Lee's representative says she will be allowed to leave the hospital, but will be on heavy antibiotics as she fights an infection. There is a chance she may have to undergo another operation.
New research shows the overuse of workout supplements is a growing problem for men. A small study found many men who work out regularly become dependent on supplements to the point it may qualify as an eating disorder. 29% of men were concerned with their use of supplements, but 40% had increased their use. 8% said their doctors told them to cut back on their use. Some experts blame marketing efforts aimed at addressing insecurities men have about their physique. Many of the men in the study appeared fit and healthy, only to have their bodies deteriorate, which may signal underlying emotional issues.
Nearly 2% of Americans admit to drunk driving. A CDC study found more than 4 million people admitted to driving while intoxicated at least once in the prior month. 80% of them were men, with 1/3 being younger men with a history of binge drinking. Alcohol-related crashes account for about 1/3 of all fatal crash deaths in the U.S. in the last 2 decades.
The key to improving student performance in school may be a later start time. The CDC says too many students aren't getting enough sleep because they have classes that start before 8:30 a.m. Doctors say teens should get at least 8.5 hours of sleep at night, but their sleep rhythms make it difficult to fall asleep before 11 o'clock. The lack of sleep can lead some students to become overweight or depressed and more likely to turn to alcohol or drugs.
When did you start school, like high school?
I want to say 8 o'clock.
I was 7:50.
Yeah, right around there. I agree. A later start would have been better.
But it was nice to get out early.
You know,
you got sports
go
and
either way.
stuff, a double-edged sword. Coming up, closing the learning gap. Who challenged kids to read this summer?
But first, here's the view from the HD Wham Cam on a beautiful Friday evening.
Well, let me tell you, just kind of run out of adjectives to describe our gorgeous weather in Rochester. I mean, we've had some of those patchy fair weather cumulus clouds. They billow up during the afternoon, but they move out pretty quickly. Temperature now is at 76 degrees. The breeze out of the east-northeast. Checking in with our weather spotters, and you can see a little bit of a range here. Scottsville, temperatures at 77. Irondequoit at 73. And part of that is the lake breeze holding down the temperature a little bit for some of the communities right along the lakeshore. Here's a look at the hour-by-hour forecast, and we think it's going to be a beautiful sunset in Rochester. And you can see by 9 or 10 o'clock, we're down into the 60s, and there's going to be a little bit of fog in some of the valleys south of Rochester, but nothing that's going to be a problem. And it's going to be another cool, comfortable night for sleeping. We'll get into the mid-50s for the overnight. Now, what about your Saturday? Here it comes, right at you. And we're looking at partial sunshine. Not a perfect day by any means, but it's going to be dry, low humidity. Can't ask for anything more, really. Temperatures are going to get into the mid to upper 70s through the afternoon. Again, a little cooler near the lake. Now, what about going into Saturday night and Sunday? Hey, look at this wedge of clearing right here across western New York. As we mentioned, we're right in that perfect area across the northeast. Just about everybody else getting some showers, at least at some portion of the weekend. And I think we're in the clear at this point. Now, checking out the muggy meter, again, it's going to go up slightly as we go into Sunday, but it's really not going to be until Monday that we'll start to feel the difference here. And that's when some of those rain showers are going to make a return. Now, the overall weather pattern, it looks like we're going to revert back to this very cool pattern as we go through the middle of next week. So the temperature actually dropping again. We're getting into this up and down scenario in terms of the temperatures. So we get into the 80s. This is going to be Sunday and into Monday. And then you can see how the temperature starts to drop quite a bit going into Wednesday and Thursday. So not bad, though. Take a look at the lake forecast for your Saturday. Maybe going out on the big lake. I think overall the weather's going to cooperate. Breeze will pick up out of the northeast. Water temperature now at 74 degrees. Wave heights at about 1 to 3 feet. The planning forecast through this evening, we're going to find the temperature dropping through the 70s and 60s. Look for mainly clear skies through the overnight. Again, a little fog in the valleys. Tomorrow morning, we're starting out near 60, but grab the sunglasses. We'll mix in some clouds from time to time, but it's going to be a comfortable day. High temperature near 78 degrees. Looking good into Sunday, 81. Then we get more of that humidity. It's going to be arriving Monday and Tuesday, and coincidentally, that's when we start to get some of the showers and thunderstorms. We figure it's going to last 2 days. The chance of getting some of that rain, and then we go into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I think we get another extended period of dry weather starting the middle of next week.
Thank you, Glenn.
You're welcome.
Some Rochester City School students are celebrating a successful summer of reading. They took part in the mayor's Summer Reading Challenge. Kids who completed all 10 books got certificates and free books at a ceremony today. Mayor Lovely Warren says it's an important way to make sure kids retain what they learn in school during the summer.
We are preparing our young people to compete worldwide, and you know, they need every chance, a fighting chance at life, and the only way for them to get that is through education. And any way that we can encourage them to continue on to read and to learn math and to be successful in their academics, we will continue to do that.
The mayor says she hopes the event will encourage kids to continue reading the rest of the summer and into the new school year. So you hear that? You're not off the hook, even if you got that certificate today.
Couple more books
11,
to get through before
12,
school starts.
Maybe 13 before
Can be an overachiever. It's allowed.
It's okay.
All right. Well, still ahead, remembering an icon in journalism, how many are paying tribute to Peter Jennings 10 years after his death. That's in the digital desk. Peeps are rolling out some new flavors for the fall.
I think
Exciting
Peeps and I
stuff.
think spring.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like fall.
Yeah. And remembering a journalistic icon 10 years after his death. Matt Malloy joins us with today's digital desk.
Hey guys, we're going to start with an update on Patrick Kane. We told you about him a little earlier in the newscast. The NHL star under investigation in Buffalo. Today, Hamburg police actually releasing a very brief statement. Take a look. It simply states that they are investigating an incident at Kane's home. They're gathering information and waiting on forensic testing results. Sources telling the Buffalo News that Kane is under investigation for rape. At this point, no comment from the Chicago Blackhawks player. We'll continue to follow that story for you. Hey, kind of a sad anniversary today, marking 10 years since the death of Peter Jennings. Jennings, the face of World News Tonight on ABC for more than 2 decades. He was with ABC News, though, for more than 4 decades. Jennings was actually a high school dropout from Canada who transformed himself into one of the most well-respected journalists in the world. He died on this day in 2005 after a battle with lung cancer. Today, ABC News tweeting out this video called Peter Jennings, Remembering an Icon. Take a look.
Someone actually reached up and handed me a small piece of the wall that they had chipped away. It's those small moments that make up this extraordinary day.
There is no one absolutely essential truth for all people. And that every time I look at a coin, I instinctively want to look at the other side.
It really is a beautiful piece. Jennings was 67 years old when he died. You can find a link to that full video on the digital desk on 13wham.com. I highly recommend it. Hey, finally, a controversial candy adding some new flavors. You either love them or hate them, I feel like. Peeps, we're talking about them. Look at here. They're rolling out pumpkin spice Peeps just in time for the fall. Getting on the pumpkin bandwagon and trending on Facebook today because of it. Not a fan of pumpkin. They are also releasing caramel apple and candy corn flavors. The new flavors hit store shelves at the end of this month. I was never a big Peeps fan.
This was kind of the talk for a little bit in our newsroom today. I can deal with the regular ones. I don't know about the flavors.
I used to put them in the microwave just to see how big they would get, right?
I'm not a marshmallow person. But you know, pumpkin might be good if you make it like a s'more, heat it up.
Yes, I didn't think about that.
Could that be good?
Put it in your coffee. Starbucks can patent it. There you go.
Not in the coffee?
No.
Pumpkin spice latte? You never had one of those from Starbucks?
Oh, I've had those, but I don't want marshmallow in it. Anyways, we'll be right back with our picture of the day.
And finally, our picture of the day, just in time for dinner. This is the Glenn dog being served, not Glenn Johnson, the hot dog, being served at the NASCAR events at Watkins Glen this weekend. It's a Salem's hot dog topped with Yancey's fancy mac and cheese and a Cheez-It crumble wrapped in a pretzel.
It is the Glenn dog.
The track tweeted out some pictures of that this afternoon, and now I have new plans for the weekend.
That sounds good.
That sounds fantastic.
All right. Then now that's at 5:30.
Great segue. Here's Don.
All right, coming up next, a lawsuit filed against NASCAR driver Tony Stewart involving the death of a fellow driver in Canandaigua. Plus, what we are learning about the man accused of damaging the memorial dedicated to Officer Darrell Pearson. And a mother's promise to find justice 20 years after her teenage daughter was found dead in a Webster field.